and players mob him.
But Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jayson Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by PrizePicks and the Game Time app.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Big Three NBA podcast. We have so much to talk about, as usual. But before we get started, actually, I should introduce the people that are on the podcast with me. Sherrod Blakely, Gary Washburn, myself, Kwani, Lunis. But before we get started, I want to make sure that you know that if you're listening to this podcast, you should also be showing love to our good friends at PrizePicks. They're America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. You can download the app today and get a $50 bonus after your first $5 lineup. And as a friendly reminder, you are listening to the Big Three NBA podcast, which is, of course, part of the CLNS Media Network, where you can find our podcast, past and present, as well as a lot of other great Celtics content on a regular basis. Okay, let's talk Celtics. First up, of course, Jayson Tatum. We have to talk about the rehab update of reporting from Ramona Shelburne. She said that he is recovering fine, essentially ahead of schedule. We've talked about this already. So when hearing this new report, what do you two feel about his chances playing this season? And is it even a wise move to put him back in, even if he is ahead of schedule, quote?
I want to hear from my boy Gary Washburn because I'm in a real nice mood today. I want my Gary Washburn. Talk to me, G.
There we go. Let's hear what he has to say. What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think if he's healthy and there's a good amount of season left, or there's 15, 18 games left, and he is cleared to play, and you're in a position where, it's comfortable for him to return, I don't see why you would hold him back. But as I said, I think you take the safe approach at all costs with this, which means unless he is completely cleared to play, not 2 weeks early, not, him telling guys, I feel good, and the doctor being like, well, maybe, no.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like,
I need to see a couple of weeks of 5-on-5, a couple of weeks of just like Tatum looking like he can play in an NBA game. I don't want to see, he participated in 3-on-3, or he ran up and down the floor, or he got knocked down and got back up again. Like, I need to see more of a consistent 5-on-5 physical game at a practice, a week of practice, two weeks of practice before I would even think about putting him on the court. So if he's cleared and everything's okay, that's fine. But other than that, I'm holding him out and getting ready for 26-27.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Jayson Tatum walking in 2025 is a big deal. Any other time, it's not. And it's because of the injury, obviously. But for me, to Gary's point, there needs to be a closer connection between where he's at and where he is going to be when he returns to the court. And it's just not there now. He's doing the kind of baby fundamental steps that you have to, the mile markers, if you will, that you have to cross to get back to playing. But he ain't nowhere close to playing. I mean, talk to me when he is close enough to where you can envision him defending Luka Doncic, or even Luka Garza. He ain't ready to do either of those things right now. So again, hit me up in after the All-Star game or after the All-Star break, which is when I think that's the point where I'm really going to be thinking long and hard about where he's at, because at that point, they'll have a much clearer idea of where he's at in terms of actually playing games, as opposed to just the rehab. Because right now, that's really where the focus is, just getting his body right to where he can function, do the basic fundamental things like walking. But there's a huge difference between being able to walk up and down the court and play 3-on-3 and a half court than there is playing at an NBA level against, some of the best athletes in the world. So Tatum is great to hear that he's trending or moving in the right direction. But, Celtics fans, take it easy, relax. It's a long, long road ahead of him before anyone, including Jayson, can feel comfortable and confident that he's ready to return to action.
Yeah, we're definitely on the same page, and this is the point that the two of you have been making the last few months. So I think until we hear otherwise or feel otherwise, that would be the consensus for sure. All right, Sherrod, before we started recording, you actually started listening to a new podcast. Obviously, you listen to our podcast every day, but
Of course.
Derrick White has released a podcast called White Noise, very clever, and you were feeling it.
You know what? I was.
What'd you think?
I was. And here's why. First of all, he has a co-host, a guy named Welsh, and I didn't really know where that came from. And they kind of elaborate what that was. This was his former teammate. They played together at Colorado. And you know, the thing that I noticed and just listened to the podcast is that, you know, Derrick, I think is a really interesting guy. I think his story from where he was, you know, someone who, you know, was on no one's radar coming out of high school to now being, you know, an 8-figure change NBA player, all NBA defensive player and all that is just great. But the podcast, at least the first episode, really kind of, I think, added a little bit of context to how Derrick got to where he's at. You know, Derrick talked about, you know, just the plan being for him to redshirt his first year there. And so he took practices really hard. And that for him was his game. And he was so good in practice that they were like, well, shoot, why are we redshirting this dude when he's killing it every day in practice? And so then he became a guy that became a regular. And then that was just kind of the beginning of his ascension to where he's at now. So I think more than anything else, it just gives a little bit of context to how Derrick got to where he's at. I'd be curious to see how they're going to pivot going forward because at some point, they're going to have to evolve the conversation beyond that. And I don't know how that's going to look or how that's going to sound. But for first episode, I thought it was solid.
Yeah. All right. So that begs the question. Gary, I don't know if you've listened to it, but it's okay if you haven't because I have a question to follow up. So which Celtic legend, dead or alive, do you two wish you could listen to a podcast from?
I know
Gary.
who I got. I want to hear what Gary got to say.
Okay.
Well, if they're dead, I don't know if I want to hear their podcast.
Okay.
Kwani, he knew what you meant, Kwani.
Right. Because mine, I'll give you mine. Mine would be Tommy Heinsohn because the conversations I used to have with him when I worked at Boston, good. I was like, the banter, the storytelling.
Gonna say,
rest in peace. Miss him.
I'm going to say, I mean, I think the greatest podcast would have been a Wilt, Real Russell podcast. Obviously, Wilt died in 1999. So obviously before podcasts were part of that, it was just a talk show back then. Really wasn't podcast, you know, it was with Jenny Jones and Ricky Lake and all them and Montel Williams.
This is how we do it.
Not Montel Jordan, damn it, Montel Williams. Anyway,
if you say Montel, who people want to think about? Your boy or mine?
Well, generational. That's a generational question. So let him answer. Let him.
Oh, I got a headache already from Sherrod breaking into this is how we do it. And I hope that's a song that Kwani has heard. I know it's
I know that song. See, okay. We're not gonna hear it. Okay. Is disrespect because my youth.
The best of 1993-94. You heard this is how we do it, but you didn't hear today was a good day. So
you know what?
You didn't hear that full greatest.
Serious hating. Why is Gary in a hating mood today?
I don't know.
I'm not hating mood. Anyway, the Bill Russell Wilt podcast. I'd love to hear anything Bill Russell had to say. Any of the Celtic legends to tell their stories. JoJo White, John Havlicek, the stories from back in those days, how they Chuck Cooper, yes, the first black drafted in the history of the NBA.
That would be a podcast for sure.
Any of those legends, and even today, all the stuff that Larry Bird has very definitely kept a low profile.
Yeah.
But, I'm sure he's got 5 million stories. I'm sure he's got players he still doesn't like from those days. Obviously, like the Lambeers that he doesn't like. So there's a lot of people that I would like to hear from. and get their story about how they got to where they are, or just their thoughts of the NBA. And I just think, honestly, we don't appreciate some of our older guys and the legends of the game and their opinion. I was talking a couple of months ago to Dave Cowens, who's 75, and very sharp, and it was a great conversation. I talked to him almost 2 hours about the game, then the game now, his appreciation for the game now. And obviously he was a coach too. So he coached Charlotte, he coached Golden State. So he dealt with a lot of young players, guys who are now since retired, but a lot of the guys now that are, we would call contemporary players from either the previous generation or this generation. So I think we need to appreciate that. And as I said, I think unfortunately some of these, and Sherrod can attest to this, some of these former players who were recently retired got podcasts and maybe telling themselves and telling the world how great they were. And we saw in person, y'all, either players play down their careers where you're very humble about their accomplishments, or they play up where it's like,
retelling history.
We're all there. It's on video. You weren't a legend. Because I think the legend, is the term legend is thrown around too damn much in the NBA.
Everywhere.
I remember we was in Milwaukee, and I don't know if I think Sherrod was there, and OJ Mayo was courtside, and they were like, Bucks legend OJ Mayo. And
I remember that.
I was like,
what?
Bucks legend, former Buck.
And the thing is, it's one thing to be a legend for your team, because maybe you could be like a Celtics legend, but not an NBA legend. But either way, we gotta categorize it better.
Every 90s rapper was not legendary. Every 90s R&B was not legendary. And we do that. Oh, the legendary rapper, do that 3 albums.
I think a legendary legend has become synonymous with old for some people. And it's like, just because it was old doesn't mean it's
everybody a legend. Like, everybody ain't a legend. Like, let's stop it. So I think some of these former retired players do these podcasts and they talk about their career. And those of us who covered that person was like, damn, I was there for that. Like, you weren't that nice. You were solid. You were a good player. Or they downplay their career. They were like, wow, this dude doesn't really realize how great they really were. So I know it was a long-winded answer, but I any of the Celtics legends, even, and Sherrod will attest to this, a Paul Silas podcast. Oh my God.
Fire.
Talking about these youngsters, talking about these young players.
Okay.
God bless his soul, the great Paul Silas, who coached for a long time and had an issue. Yes, had an issue. Eric Snow had an issue with the younger players and how they carried themselves.
He's hip-hop mother.
Hip-hop. Or Jesus Christ, am I speaking Chinese when he kept saying he didn't want to talk about Eric Snow? So, I mean, things and that's on tape. You can probably catch that post-game clip
for sure.
Before the days of the press conference and the press conference room. We had to talk to the coach right outside the locker room in a big scrum when he was standing up. And those are the days. So I would love a Paul Silas podcast about his career, winning the championship in Boston, winning the championship in Seattle, and then his coaching career, which, he was LeBron's first coach. So there was a lot of legends, real legends I'd love to hear from. But let's not throw that term out too easily. Not every R&B artist who had an album in the 90s was a legendary artist. Not every rapper who had a rap album in the 90s was a legend. Like, I love my time too. I love the time that I was younger, but not everybody that we listen to is a damn legend. Like, it's just because they older doesn't make them a legend. So,
all right, Sherrod, who's your legend?
I hate
you better be a legend.
I hate the fact that certain groups come to mind that Gary is talking about. I'm thinking about like Kumo D. I'm thinking about Escape. Can't see either one of them as a legend. But anyway, back to what we talk about.
True. I disagree with Kumo D. I was a big Kumo D guy, but yeah, I get
LL was crushing him on a regular.
You play, I go to work. They used to play that.
Yeah, how you like me now?
Well, yeah, how you like me now? But I'm a Kumo D guy. I don't know if he's a legend. But then he was with the Treacherous Three. He was with a group before he went solo. So he might be on that legendary status. But I get Sherrod. You know, there's a lot of groups, special ed, there was a lot of artists who had a hit, but not legends. Right. R&B, rock and roll, I'm sure, heavy metal that are tabbed as legends. Stop it. Let's stop the term legend. GOAT, legend. Let's put brakes on it. Let's do a campaign, Kwani.
New
Kwani, platform.
I got you.
Yes, NBC 10 campaign. Let's stop calling everybody a legend. A little
poster.
We all. I am not a legend. That's the campaign. I am not a legend. We are all not legends. Stop that.
Here's the thing about the whole about the whole podcast thing. The best part about players who have podcasts are the stories that they can tell that only a player can tell. And what I've found is it's not so much the star players that are best at telling those stories. It's the guys that were in the room that were watching all this play out, who might be in the rotation. It might be a borderline star, but they were not by any means a stretch the face of the franchise or anything like that. And when I think about Celtics and I think about folks who have kind of the gift of gab and were kind of in the space of high-level basketball, I think it's Sam Cassell. I would love for Sam Cassell to have that type of platform, because think about it. Not only will he be able to discuss just, really probably the best stretch in the last 20 years in Boston, but he's also got his time when he broke into the league in Houston, playing with Hakeem, winning championships as a young guy. And you better believe Sam has got plenty of stories. That's a guy, to me, that has the kind of crossover appeal with a podcast that you better believe old heads are going to be tuning in. Young bucks will check in. Folks who are casuals about the NBA are going to be able to check, because he can speak about things that very few players can. And he comes from the perspective of a dude who was a good player. Wasn't a great player, but he was a good player. So Sam is the guy that I would love to see have his own podcast.
Yeah. Another thing he could speak on is, in the news, he was reportedly drawing interest from Tennessee State for that coaching position, ends up not getting that role either. So just getting his coaching perspective as well of like what's going on behind the scenes during these interviews of, how these opportunities are coming together or not coming together.
Yeah, I'm finding as time moves on that it is such a small window. Just like there's a small window for winning a championship, there's a small window for making that transition from assistant coach to head coach. And when that window, I don't think that window is closed on Sam, but it's definitely shrinking. I think back to, David Vanderpool, 4, 5, 6 years ago, he was a very popular name going to make that transition. And when that window started to shrink, and when Minnesota, when it closed, it has not been reopened since. And it doesn't look like it's going to be reopened. I don't think Sam is there yet, because he's still with an organization that wins at a relatively high level. And he does have an important role in that. I do believe Sam will get an opportunity to be a head coach one day, but make no mistake about it. As each year passes, it's just like being in the NBA. Every year there's a new class coming into the league. Every year there's a new group of assistant coaches or really high-profile NBA or college coaches that are thinking about making that transition, and that becomes more competition for a guy like Sam. But like I said, I do think at some point within the next couple of years he's going to get that opportunity, but make no mistake about it. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The clock is ticking.
That's fair. Is there anything you think he should be doing to set himself up in order to finally secure one?
Here's my thing. Okay. It's not the coaches. There's a lot of aspiring NBA head coaches, from all walks of life. And I attended during Summer League a meeting of the mostly African-American coaches in the league. Some head coaches showed up, some GMs showed up. Nobody from the Celtics was present there, although they do have a good number of coaches of color, African-Americans on their staff. The problem is these guys want to get their stories out, and that's what I'm kind of working on now with some of the members of the Black Coach Association, is getting their stories out. unfortunately, a lot of the head coaches don't want these assistant coaches to talk to the media unless it's about one particular. We've had to fight. Like there was years, even when I started covering the league. Okay, I started covering the league in the mid-'90s. Kwani, when a little bit after when Today Was a Good Day was out.
I'm never gonna let this up, huh?
No, not anytime soon.
Oh my God.
You let us. Ice Cube thinks Boston folks are whack.
For the record, Ice Cube's team, the entire team collected my black card. Like
They were like, give it up.
he was like, go get this back.
Hands up.
You
get in your pockets.
You're on probation. It's like drivers. You need a 90s grown person to go with you anywhere for the next 6 months until you get your black card back.
The disrespect.
Like you need a grown person. Like I got her. She's with me. She's with
We're
me.
Good.
So I started covering the league, and Bill Fitch was the head coach, the former Celtics coach of the Clippers, and Bill did not let any of his assistant coaches talk to the media. And even though they would talk to me off the record, they knew we would talk. You know, there was a guy, Barry Hecker, Jim Brewer, a former NBA player, good guys, and I could talk to them off the record, and they were aspiring head coaches, but they could not speak to me in terms of like, hey, this is my story. I'd like to become a head coach. And I think the same happens today, where a lot of these assistant coaches can only talk about, okay, I want to talk to you, assistant coach, about working with X player, or X player's 3-point improvement, things like that. So
or sometimes a halftime report and mid-game question.
Like Abby will talk to one of the Celtic assistants. Okay, what the Celtics need to do in the second half. But also
Brad Stevens was really good at letting his assistants talk more than most NBA coaches do.
But that's the thing. A lot of the NBA head coaches, whether it be because they're territorial, because they don't want their assistants talking about their aspirations of being a head coach, they don't let their assistants talk about their career paths. And so for me, I just think that's kind of why we don't know about some of these assistant coaches who are coming on the scene, or somebody gets hired and we're like, who the hell was that guy? Jordan Ott gets hired in Phoenix, and now he can tell his story. But it's hard for an NBA assistant unless you just win the interview, obviously, to get, because no one knows your story. In the media, we are not really allowed in many cases, because the head coach does not allow his assistants to talk about, as if, I don't know why. I think it could be a territorial thing, or do you really want out there that your assistant coach is looking to be a head coach and you're a head coach? Like, who knows why? I have my thoughts of why some coaches are a little bit territorial. That fool ain't taking my job, and you ain't going to undermine me. And has that happened in the NBA? Yes. Have assistant coaches probably badmouthed the head coach and then was named the interim coach? And I'm not saying like there was rumors that happened or there was some dissension in Sacramento, where Doug Christie and Mike Brown, who is now coach of the New York Knicks. So it's a touchy situation as to why guys like Sam Cassell and David Vanderpool and guys who are qualified, and there are those coaches of color, white, whatever, just coaches who have gotten their jobs and they blew the opportunity. We were talking to the great Bernie Bickerstaff at that same meeting, who's in his 80s, sharp as a tack, and he was just telling us like, we can talk about diversity and stuff and all that, but some of y'all done blown some good jobs. Y'all done have some good job. It's like your daddy. Boy, that was a good job and you got fired. What's wrong with you? Because you couldn't show up on time. It was like talking to your father. Boy, that was a good ass job. Boy, what the hell you lose that job for? It was like look what you done now. Look what you done now. Yeah, it was like John Witherspoon talking to Craig. Boy, how the hell you get fired on your day off? What the hell you doing, boy? And he was basically saying some of these assistants have gotten good jobs and then they blew it. So I'd like to see some first-time head coaches get positions, and sometimes not the retreads. But because we've seen Mike Budenholzer, we've seen, and as much as we like Mike Brown, Mike Brown done gotten I don't think any of us in our bingo card would have Mike Brown be the next coach of the New York Knicks, and Mike's had a bunch of jobs already. Yeah. So, would I like to see some new faces in new places? Of course, but it's hard when they're not allowed to tell their story, and so sometimes they're unknown.
Very fair. Great conversation. All right. Just a reminder for those of you that are listening to the show, we're just going to ask that you subscribe to the podcast, and make sure you're leaving a review. And for those of you that are watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe to the Celtics All Access YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Celtics content. Also, just a reminder, make sure you turn on those notifications so you know that instant a new video is dropping.
Absolutely. And
what we haven't talked about, what we talked about last week, is Marcus Smart signing with the Lakers.
We'll get to Marcus Smart signing with the Lakers in a minute, Gary Washburn. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to our good friends at PrizePicks.
Give a shout.
We'll talk about Smart later, but let's talk about our good friends at PrizePicks, which is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks, which again is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. With PrizePicks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports, combine your favorite basketball players with baseball, esports, soccer, and much, much more. PrizePicks also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So how do you get in? It's really, really, really simple. You will download the app today, use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, just download the app today, use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Now, we're going to dig into the Gary Washburn collection of topics and just bring in Marcus Smart going to La La Land.
No. But I think we should end with Marcus Smart. Let's quickly go around the NBA, though. Just quickly mention Jokic getting emotional after his horse won a race. Did you guys see
Gary, go get your boy. Go get your boy.
Why is your boy It's just interesting how he can remain stoic when winning an NBA title, but the emotions come out. I mean, clearly this is something very personal. Maybe basketball
that's his thing.
Just a job. Exactly.
We do not know the Serbia. We don't know how it is in Serbia with horse racing. Obviously, that's his thing. That's his off the court hobby is the horses. So I got no problem with Jokic getting emotional.
No problem either. I just wanted to highlight
unique personality, and I think honestly, I think he'll be a great when his career is over. Another guy, he'll be a great podcaster, and he'll have a guy. He'll be a guy who has probably a million stories he has not told. He can even he might even be one of those former players who gets his own sitcom or something. Right? Like, could you imagine? Remember when some of the former athletes, George Foreman, God bless his soul, Bob Uecker, some of these former, Michael Strahan had his own sitcom for a minute, right? Some of these guys are funny, and they
Rick
end up
Fox
getting.
was in the game.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a sitcom, but it's
Yeah, I mean his acting.
Did you say Rick Fox?
She said Rick Fox. Yeah.
He used to be married to Vanessa Williams.
Yeah. But like Rick Fox, you're right. But there's Jokic might be one of those guys who, like, some network approaches him about being like his own sitcom or something. Like, he seems to be very undercover funny, and he seems to be a guy who's not telling everything, all of what he knows. His personality is kind of reserved because he's still in the league. So let's see what happens. I'm all on Jokic's side. Whatever he's turned himself into one of the greatest players of all time, probably a top if you want to say, some people might argue top 10, some might be say 15 or 20 at least. Like he's in the club, like he's getting in. Like he might not be at the head VIP table with Russell and LeBron and Jordan, but Jokic is in that damn club, like top 20 at least all time for what he does for the game. So I would love to see what he does post-retirement. He might just go back to Serbia and chill, or maybe he'll be like the next Mr. Belvedere or something. Look that up, kids, for a show that was with a former athlete. So.
There we go.
I can't see Jokic doing anything other than just going back to the crib in Serbia, watch his horses win, shed a few tears, and call it a day. What you're talking about, Gary, I think would benefit so many of us who find him incredibly interesting and fascinating. But he don't give a damn. I think he's made it pretty clear that there are very few things in life that he cares about exposing himself to for others to frankly learn from. And to me, that's why that's why the way he reacted to his horse winning was so dramatic, because that was a guy that has been so cool, calm, and collected about everything in his life, actually had a human-like reaction to something that was really meaningful to him. I mean, he is smart enough to know, and he's been in the game long enough to know that winning an NBA title is a big freaking deal, particularly winning an NBA title in a city that had never done it before. And so for him to be stoic in that moment and yet be, in boo-hoo-hooing up a storm when his horse wins, that to me was it was a great moment, but it was a shocking moment because you don't expect that, you don't anticipate that, because it's literally coming from out of nowhere. But you're right, Gary. I mean, I think he'd be hysterical after he's done playing. If there's a sitcom, I would love for him to have a sitcom and maybe either have his brothers in it or have two people play his brothers, because they have been on the scene and low key. I
told you I saw his brother. I saw one of the brothers at Summer League. Like,
yeah,
like
that's what I was saying.
I was outside Thomas and Mack Center, walking to my car, and see this huge dude up under the. And I was like, you know what? That looked like one of Jokic's brothers. Like, I was like, why would he be at Summer League? His brother's in Serbia, and it was like, like that dude could play. If it was like, like there's dudes who play the same role, like the bouncer role or the thug, like, we throughout the history, the guys who play villains, the guys who play thugs, guys who play the same guy, the bouncers at the clubs. Jokic, his brothers could play like any of those roles. They could be the thug or the rough guy, the enforcer in the James Bond movies. I was like, damn. I was like, that can't be Jokic's brother. It's like Summer League and his brother ain't here, but it was Jokic's brother. My goodness, that's a big guy.
Right. Okay, we spent way more time on that than I planned. We just want to shout out Brad Wanamaker for getting a new head coaching job at his alma mater, Roman Catholic High School, Philly guy.
Love you some Brad Wanamaker.
Congrats. All right, the way we're closing out, Marcus Smart, the plot twist, in LA, signed with the Lakers. First take, last take, and then we wrap.
I loved it.
What do you think?
I mean, Marcus wants to be somewhere. Marcus wants to be somewhere where he can play and actually compete for something other than just a paycheck and lottery balls. And the Lakers will give him that opportunity. They need him, what he brings to the game. And again, it's just a good situation for him at this point in his career. Gary,
you can't help but be happy for him, despite the colors.
I think Marcus. I mean, man, it's hard because he got kind of blamed for everything that went down after 23. It was him, and he got traded away. Then they win a title. He was a senior member of the Celtics. He put in 9 hard years in Boston, and the Celtics traded him. So why should the Celtic fans be mad that he signed with the Lakers? Sure. What's he supposed to do? He's not coming back to Boston. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like he got a kid, right? He has a son. He has a son. Make that up? Yes. And he's married. Okay. Has a son. Yes. Yeah. So, he got to support his fans.
Got to feed the kids and his wife.
Yes, and so I'm not the whole like, well, how should the Celtics fans react to Marcus coming back as a Laker? Like, you cheer him.
You should cheer him. Absolutely.
I was one of those people that thought and floated the idea of him getting his number retired in Boston because of the culture he brought and changed. I know people disagree, and that's fine. The Celtics got enough retired numbers, and you can scrutinize a lot of them. Okay,
exactly.
They are running out of numbers.
Thank you for pointing that out, Gary.
So to say Marcus, that's outrageous for them to retire Marcus's number. I don't think so. I don't think it's an outrageous idea, but he gave his heart and soul to the Celtics, and they kind of got him out of there and then won a title. And then he goes to Memphis, and then it don't work out. He gets hurt, and then he goes to Washington, where it's like, you just here to like fill a salary slot. Like, we don't need you to do nothing. And so he goes from playing at a high from in 2023, playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, one game for the NBA Finals, and a year before that playing in the finals, to playing for a franchise that's 5 years away from making the playoffs in Washington. Like, he didn't deserve that. So I'm happy for him to be going to a place that hopefully Marcus has enough left in the tank. He's had a tough 2 years, mostly injured. And he's handled like a pro. He didn't complain. He said he was cheering for the Celtics in the finals. Come on, you gonna boo him back? Like, no, you give him a standing ovation. It's like they did Isaiah Thomas. Like, you give that dude, like, because he gave his heart and soul. He did not want to leave Boston. Boston got rid of him. So that whole, they really gonna boo him, when he comes to the Lakers. Man, please.
Well said. Mic drop. All right. Before we let you go, for those of you listening, one more reminder: subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, share with a friend. You know the vibes. And for those of you that are watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe to the Celtics, CLNS Media and Celtics All Access YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of great Celtics content on a regular basis. And one more thing, a reminder: make sure you turn on those notifications so the moment that this episode drops, you would have known it happened. That's all we have for this week. For Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis, and this is the Big 3 NBA Podcast.
Peace.